Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have a hard stop after 25 minutes, and I put my timer for start for a very interesting session with excellent panelists which are here with me. The topic which I am going to discuss now is unlocking growth in the Indian space sector, upstream and downstream opportunities in Make in India. I'll request the panelists to come over. Firstly, Sanjay Nekanti from Dhruva Space, founding member and chief executive officer. Suyash, CEO of GalaxEye. Welcome. Vincent Kessler, executive officer and general manager of Synspective. And Saya Rul, who heads SARC's Maxar technology for the entire SARC region. As far as the growth of the Indian space sector goes, before I start that, just a brief word about my organization, that is the Indian Space Association. We were formed immediately after the government decided to open space to private sector. And I am thankful Dr. Kiran Kumar has been one of the architects of that. And what it has led in a very short time is for wonderful achievements which our private sector has been able to give. In fact, I myself did not believe 3.5 years back they could do what they have. Of course, there's a large gap to what the expectations of the users will be. But you have to remember that for 60 years, when ISRO has led space, private players were only suppliers of component assemblies. Now they are emerging into full-grown companies to provide end-to-end solutions, which I am very confident in a few years will happen. Not talking more about it, just to give you the figure, which is one thing I want to highlight, and many of you who are in the space domain would know, that out of the total space economy, two very attractive things, launch vehicles and satellites, only form 3% and 7% of the overall global space economy. The largest money is downstream. It is in applications, it is in ground stations, it is in communication and broadcasting. But the two, this 3 and 7% is most critical to be actually space. If you don't have a launch vehicle, if you don't have a satellite, rest all is theoretical. And here we have today with us CEOs of startups who are working in these domains. And the first person I would like to tell us about his company, his startup, what has he done, is who has the longest track record in India. Dhruva came up in 2012 when the Indian government was not even thinking of privatizing space. What goes to the credit is they have also crossed the startup criteria in India, which is 10 years. And now they are started shaping up, and it's 2024, 12 years. Hats off to their founders, including Sanjay, who had faith that this sector will open up. Over to you to tell us about your company and how do you see it is going to happen.
Sure, thank you very much. I think in the interest of time, I would like to focus on things that probably some of the people in the audience had asked questions about. My name is Sanjay. I run Dhruva Space. What we do as Dhruva Space is we build, launch, and operate satellites for our customers. Over the last 2 years, we've sent about 8 payloads to space, and next year seems to be one of our busiest years. We're going to launch anywhere between 5 and 8 missions into orbit next year. Specifically about use cases, 2 of them would be imaging satellites that would do anywhere between 1 to 1.5 meter imagery. One of them could be of interest, imagery is one part that could be of use to a lot of strategic users. On the comms side, there's a mention about VUHF and trying to increase comms over the maritime domain. We are working with a French company called Kines, where we'll be using their payload and putting a satellite as part of their constellation. But we as a company would leverage that whole constellation to provide services over India. This could be of terrific use case, especially for the uh, uh, strategic users in the event they would want to build out something around military IoT applications. The other one that I would like to focus on is the ground segment. We are one of the companies which have got the authorization from InSpace to provide ground stations as a service. We already have an Earth station in Hyderabad, and we are talking to foreign OEMs to provide direct access program to users, where at user location we would deliver an Earth station, combine it so that the users can directly task satellites and get the data. I would like to just conclude by talking about a problem and how we are trying to solve it. Over the last 10 years, we've had numerous conversations with numerous users who have asked us, we need a revisit time of 1 hour or less than an hour. How many satellites do we need, right? At times we said 30, at times we said 100, at times we said 300. The thing is, users also spoke to many other companies, and each one of them said the same thing, or different number again. The fact of the matter is, almost all answers might actually be true because it actually depends on what is the use case, right? So what we did is to solve this problem, we created a platform where today we have about 266 satellites on the platform. It includes data from 30 centimeter resolution to about 20 meter resolution, depending on what use case you're targeting over an area of interest. So so the user can use this platform, and let's say they identify gaps, we could fill those gaps with Indian strategic assets, filling the needs of the users. I would just end my talk there and give it on to Sir.
Thank you, Sanjay. And now is Suhas. He's opened a company, and what he's doing in ISR is that he's combining two sensors, which many felt was very difficult. There's a lot he has to go. He'll tell you about the journey. It is combination of EO and SAR on one single platform. How does he plan to do it? How will he take it forward? He'll talk about that.
First of all, sir, thank you so much for the opportunity, especially geospatial world as well. I think I will start by saying that we're around 3 years old company. Roughly, we just completed our 3 years 2 months back. In the last 3 years, we came down, unlike Sanjay and team, we are a late entrant to the system entirely. Although, we come from a very specific thought process of solving a very specific problem. We are a tropical country. Copy pasting what has been done in the West it probably is not the best solution, right? Probably is the solution, but not the best solution. Like how, different e-commerce companies, how different other companies has been built in the different domains in the country. Similarly, we thought to kind of come into space solving a specific problem for ISR and Earth observation, right? The combination of EO plus SAR just happens to be a sensor, but what it does, it gives you a promised service level agreement, right? It gives you an imagery if we pass over your head. Sure shot, right? That's the overall goal of this entire innovation that we are bringing on the table. Surely overwhelmed with the kind of support that we have been receiving from ISRO, InSpace, space associations and everyone. Recently, in fact, Prime Minister hosted us on the Man Ki Baat podcast. I really call his own personal podcast. He spent 20 minutes with us. That was one of the brilliant moments so far in our lives, for sure. At the same time, I think, to come back to your question, sir, I was at World Space Business Week, like last to last week, with these two gentlemen, for sure. What I heard was, nobody's trying this in the entire world, right? They're taking two satellites, two different imageries and trying to merge each other. there are a bunch of problems that they kind of bump into that, right? And people are still thinking how it is possible and not. I think, certainly we would like to protect our IP in that case. But what we have done so far is we have flown at least 400 plus flights on drones, quadcopters. We have flown at least a couple of flights on an aircraft to come up to the data that we really want to do. So we have taken a step, 2 drones, 2 aircrafts, and HAPS as well. So NAL was kind enough to give us the HAPS platform to test out our sensors, and we did that. Now we are launching next year. Launch slot is locked. So hopefully, we are going to launch next year and be unless someone launches before us, we'll be the world's first EO plus SAR combination on the satellite. So looking forward to providing the consistent SLA to the ISR and the Earth observation domain from there on. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Because of time, I'll put the question to you later. I'll go to the next speaker, Vincent. And Vincent, you tell us about your company. It's so interesting. You also came up in 2018, and now you have your product on ground. Tell us what you are doing and what do you look at, especially at the Indian market, be it in the strategic sector or in the private sector.
Sure. Thanks for the question. First of all, thanks to Sanjay and team for inviting Synspective here again for this seminar. My name is Vincent. I'm from Singapore, but the company that I work for is a Japanese SAR company, radar, similar to our friends here in GalaxEye, right? Happy to be back here in Delhi to share my thoughts. First of all, a little bit about us. We were formed in 2018 as a startup spinning off from a Japanese national research and development program called IMPACT. Right, we spin off from the University of Tokyo and a few other organizations to who we are today. Today we are about 200 people strong, and we have 5 satellites in space. Right, our satellites are 150 kilograms small satellites. They are in X-band, and right now we are probably Asia's highest resolution because we have 25 centimeters. Right, the team. I'm happy to say that we have a lot of Indians in our company. We have more than, I think, 15 Indians in our company. The top talent, top minds of the world are working with us, right? And we're happy to say that. I think for us, our main customers in the world is actually the Japanese government. A lot of applications in defense intelligence. We do a lot of maritime monitoring. We do a lot of very high resolution imaging of threat actors in the Asia Pacific. We all know that we have certain common problems in Asia. So I think with India, we are part of the Quad together with India. So we are working closely. We are trying to work closely with the Indian government on monitoring the issues that are happening in this region, right? That's the first one. Second one, we are also very active in disasters. A month ago, there was this major landslide in Nepal, glacier lake overflow event. I was activated on Friday night by the Disaster Agency of Nepal. And we collected images on Saturday, and we delivered analysis on Sunday, right? Never, ever has a SAR company delivered results so fast in Asia, right? But because we are here together with the customers in this region, that's why we will deliver our results really, really fast. That's what we are aiming for. And we have also been working with some Indian companies, looking at both the upstream and downstream, looking at part supply, looking at the end user applications, as you rightfully pointed out earlier. There is a very big market for applications, both within India and more importantly, outside of India. Some Indian companies have approached Synspective, right, to bring your data out of India into Japan, into Asia Pacific, right, because we have a lot of experience bringing international companies, international business global. That's what we want to do. So in conclusion, I think instead of made in India, why don't I propose something else called made with India together in a partnership? That's something that's we are looking for the market of India. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Vincent. And now I would hand over to Sai Arul. He's been in this domain of electro-optical Earth observation for a very long time. He understands what has been the requirement of the Indian Armed Forces, as well as he's also looked at what is there as a potential in the civil domain. And of course, his company is covering India so regularly and providing data for a long time. You would be able to give us a perspective of where are the opportunities, what is the market size, How do you look at it? Because I have got figures from two different places, and one of them is from the World Economic Forum. One, remote sensing has the least amount in the whole space economy, which is surprising from what the World Economic Forum is saying. While what the PwC report says is the largest growth and the largest size is in remote sensing. So you have to decipher for us and tell us what is there in India and what are the opportunities.
Thank you, sir. So I'm at a kind of a disadvantage. We have so many of the young companies that are there, and I represent a very, very old company in the domain. And so, most of the things that Suyash was referring to was companies like mine that, we've tried that, this and that, and they're doing it the other way, right? So that besides, to answer your question, sir, there is no doubt about the potential that is reported by all of these reports, right? It's just that, making it really, translate into real business is something that has not really clicked as yet. And that's because our entire focus is on, rightly so, the Make in India concept. And what is to be made in India is not yet ready, right? Like Sanjay and Suyash both gave out their programs. It's still, say, a year down the line, right? That's when, we will be generating our own data and it could be made available. So at the moment, what is available is what is being provided by multinationals like the company that I represent, which is Maxar. We have those, it's an old company. We have exotic kind of capabilities in terms of both EO, and now we provide SAR also from Amra directly tasked through our constellation. We've also launched a new constellation of very high resolution mid inclination constellation, which is going to give us a daily revisit on any point on the Earth to nearly about up to 15 times in a day. Now, that is one area that definitely is of use for the defense and intelligence kind of use cases, not maybe the traditional, the civil government use cases, which are not really time sensitive. Right. So in those terms, sir, the numbers, to answer your specific question, there is no doubt about the potential. There is no doubt about the need. We have, the entire defense, trioca being reflected here. Data is required, right, for ISR, and most of the companies here are, Earth observation. Communication, the previous panel did emphasize on the communication part. There is no end to the amount of communication. Whatever other means that are being provided, they are all being consumed, right? Once we have the Starlink and maybe OneWeb in full, deployed in their full capability, those will also get consumed, because that's the kind of hunger that is there in terms of communication requirements in the world. So that business will remain. EO is more of a, the consumption of EO is mostly about worldwide. If you see, about 70 to 80% of the consumption of EO is by the national security kind of use cases. The rest are in terms of disaster management, planning, operations, maintenance kind of requirements for infrastructure and the like. So that, distribution of consumption is going to remain that way, because that's how the world is, right? Instead of becoming one global world, we see the geopolitics happening. It's becoming more and more fragmented. There's a lot of nationalism. There is a lot of, territorial disputes that are happening. So the national security requirements will continue to remain relevant in the near future, unless, we have a situation where, we have a kind of utopia and that is not really visible in the near future.
Thank you, Sai. Very recently, and Sanjay mentioned it in his opening remarks, we have got now an EOI for Earth observation satellites to be manufactured by a company or a group of companies in India. It's a great opportunity because the important is it is in space is leading it, and they have taken it out, and the primary aim is that for all usages other than military, what are the opportunities there from various ministries and everyone, and how can private players put in a constellation for that? It is a combination of EO, SAR, and even hyperspectral. Can they put in a constellation? Can it make it a case, a business case of what they can get from India? Yes, they will be provided assistance for a very, very important part, demand from all the ministries, which InSpace will give. And also, the government through InSpace is thinking of providing, as a public-private partnership, certain percentages of money for that. It's a very interesting opportunity for players. I would like all the panelists. What are your views on it, and what are the opportunities with that? And also with Maxar, how do you see this coming as a challenger or as a partner for you? We'll start from one end over to.
So we look at it as a huge opportunity, because whatever this constellation that would go up, if the target is consumption by India, India is a very small part of the globe. The satellite is going to, orbit the entire globe, right? So a bulk of that capacity of that constellation is not going to be consumed by India. It's going to be made available for consumption globally. And we have a global presence. We have been in the data business for many, many years. And we see that we can really utilize this capability and take it to the world in conjunction with our own capabilities.
Where do you see the difficulties? Where do you see the opportunity?
Firstly, I think it's a fantastic opportunity that this framework has been created. Because the EOI is still open, and to avoid a little bit of speculation, I'll give broad level takeaways. I think it's a huge opportunity for multiple small companies to come together, to build together, to serve not just national requirements but global requirements. However, there's a catch over here. The catch is, for the access to a certain percentage of the funding, there also needs to be a significant amount of contribution from the private industry. Now, the question is, are smaller companies having that kind of a capital to deploy and be invested in this program? So one of the ways this could potentially mature is, I think there will be larger players who've been hesitant to work with smaller companies now start working with smaller companies and take it forward. And I personally also feel that's that can be a pretty sustainable approach to addressing the EOI.
So I think, till 3 months back, we were kind of sleeping. But then this EOI came and we have started to run very, very fast. The only thing is, people like us, maybe, a couple of other companies as well in India, have anyways planned to build a constellation of satellites, right? Which will provide data at the end of the day to the either ISR domain or the Earth observation domain as well. But because of this program, there's a part funding. So I would actually look the other way, how Sanjay would look at it. So there's a part funding that's now coming from InSpace. Right? We would have anyways invested that kind of money on our own. It's just now we need to cut short the entire time and take that money from InSpace, if we get to go through ahead, and then build that entire satellite constellation. Now, the interesting part is people who have not been in the data business also have also now come in and started participating in this, which means, the standards and competition will go up. It will be an interesting, in my opinion, it will be an interesting thing to, watch and see where it goes. We are pretty, for us, it's like the same thing. We plan to build the entire constellation in, let's say, 4 to 5 years. We now are going to kind of fast track it as much as possible.
Have you seen this expression of the trust?
Not really, but hearing from what all the presenters are saying, I think it makes sense for me to wrap this up because, in a way, Japanese has a similar program coming up right now. We have a $6 billion strategic space fund, US dollars, not Japanese yen. So $6 billion US strategic space fund that's telling companies to improve the technologies. And part of it, I think there are some calls for mass production of satellites. There are some calls for internationalization of the space data and things like that, right? So I think in terms of partnering with Indian companies, I see this as a great opportunity, this EOI, where we can also help to bring your technology, your data downstream and overseas as well, as what our friend from Maxar said earlier as well. So that's something that we see is a great opportunity. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. Just to tell all of you here, this PPP model, which has been very creatively done by ISRO and has been done in very recent times. So I wanted to tell you, as you are aware, the first 5 PSLVs are being manufactured by the private sector combined HAL LLT. Of course, that is not a PPP model. That is an order of 860 crores given to these 2 companies, and their first PSLV is more or less ready to be launched. They're waiting for certain orders for the satellites and it will be launched. But the next phase of this, what the government planned was that let PSLVs be totally made in the private sector. And that they had taken out RFP, and now it is in the final stages where for the next 5 years, for the next 5 years, about a total 60 number of PSLVs will be manufactured by some private player in India. And there also, the government is firstly giving them assured demands every year, as well as giving them, sharing the cost of the whole thing. This will bring PSLV totally to the private sector in a few years. And the next step is, this is being done even for LVM-3, that is GSLV, the next bigger rocket. And in the future, the ISRO chairman plans that the new generation launch vehicle, which has to be made, will be made from R&D with a combination of private players and ISRO. So our launch vehicle things, and apart from that, the small launch vehicle, the SSLV, the technology transfer is also taking place. There are 2 private players, Agni-Cool and Skyroot, who are making it. So in the launch vehicle market, they're exciting times. And similarly in satellite manufacturing, here are some of these people who are sitting here who are going to take it forward. And there are many other companies, there's Pixel and the other companies who are also into it. Before I finish, a last word, only 40 seconds each, please. Over to you, all of you.
So since we've been speaking about this EOI, and it's a fantastic initiative, what we feel is that the area that is not really been addressed is the ground segment in this EOI, where these multiple technologies have got to be controlled by a single ground segment, and whatever is being produced has to be converted into usable insights or products which an end user requires. And that's an area, again, that's something that Maxar does very well and has been doing for many years. But that's a lacuna that we see in the shape of the EOI. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Hard stop 40 seconds, right? So basically, I think we have a little bit of a correlation here between India and Japan because of our focus on sustainability. Right? Beyond defense, beyond national governments. I think the 2 countries have got a very strong interest in building a future for the next generation. Especially our company, Synspective. I think we are the only SAR company right now that's talking about sustainability. And I hope to really partner with companies in India, government of India as well, to look at how do we preserve what we have right now for the future. The people both in education, technology transfer, and also preserving the environment for those people who live in the world today. Thank you.
So I think I'll probably take a very different take on this. Not on the EOI, but in general in the space and geospatial industry, I feel it should be driven by more value rather than the geopolitical fragmentation that is happening. I think, for example, if as a company we grow tomorrow, right, and if we go and sell satellites or data to any other country, right, it'll be made in X country, right? So I think there has to be right balance in the global plus sovereign capabilities that comes on the table, and it has to be more value driven rather than anything else. So that's my take, which I really feel it should be done. Yeah.
We'll pass it over to the right people.
US government has probably about 800 operational assets. China has right now about 800 operational assets. India's operational assets are, people know the numbers. I think that number is going to increase quite significantly in the coming years. But in the short term, it is very, very important to grow together. So there'll be a lot of collaboration that will happen between India and its friendly countries. And in the future, the gaps that exist will be filled in with sovereign assets. So the private sector is gearing up to fill those gaps and probably work on cutting edge technologies, which even the other friends today do not have. So the future is definitely exciting, and I'm looking forward to a decade filled with a lot of space exploration serving the users. Thank you.
Before I end, I would like to thank the DSA's office, and the DG DSA is there, and why I want to thank him is 4 years back when I made this association and I went to all the startups, including Sanjay and them, they didn't know who the DG DSA was and what do the armed forces require. For thanks to those 75 challenges for you, which your office worked overtime, today there is a clarity as to what do we aspire to. Of course, what you have put in the 75 challenges are challenges. They are not technologies which are available. But it gives a clarity, at least to the private sector, as to what they have to achieve for the defense forces in the immediate and the near future. And that is really, it gives a clarity, at least to a great extent, to many of the private players and startups. I'll end. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.